Hello everyone, this is a classic LEGO town set from 1991. It's called Launch and Load Seaport, and this video is being brought to you on behalf of two Patreon supporters. One of them earned the right to choose a set, a classic or new set for me to review that I would not have gotten otherwise, and that was a member by the name of Unavailable Spaceship. That's their alias. However, they did not pick this set. They gave away their right to pick a set to someone else, and that someone else was Cranky Bricks. That's their name. So thanks to Unavailable Spaceship and to Cranky Bricks for this being here and this video being here now as well. There's a lot of stuff in this set. This is the definition of a complete play set with 7 minifigures, a full cargo ship plus plenty of cargo to load onto it and offload, a smaller boat that acts as a pilot boat. You get the entire terminal, which is a pier on these raised pieces, specialty road pieces. You have this large crane, which is fully functional, truck back there that you can use out of this space, forklift as well for more manual loading, and some other little stuff that you can play with as well. I'm going to start off looking at the ship. This did not have a unitary hull, so you actually did a proper LEGO build to put this together. It does use specialized pieces for the bow, for the front of it, in order to get that nice shape there, but still, you properly build this thing up from the ground, and obviously I got this rather used, but it has almost all the stickers across the entire set, so that's a good thing. You see pretty much how this was supposed to look, except for a little bit of weathering and wear and such. And you did get all that cargo. I will show you the cargo pieces individually. There are some pretty cool things in there. All that you could do as far as putting a minifigure into here was open up this top right here, and you could put one, possibly two minifigs up in the superstructure. The space is a little bit cramped. It's difficult to get your fingers in there, but in the center is a steering wheel, and then either side has a printed console piece that's a 2x2 slope, and those were parts also used by some wonderful classic space sets, and there's a better look at this one. So like I said, you can put two figures in there, but it's a little bit tough. You can't open this up anymore unless you remove it completely, and there's no way to get down here without completely disassembling the whole set. So even though there are windows and it looks like there may be enough room at least for some folks to sit down there, it's not really designed like that. They do that nowadays. They try to make more use of the space, but not back in these days. Smokestack here, again, stickers, more details up on top, which are actually pretty nice. They got the proper coloring for indicators on the sides, and coming down to the deck, well, these are all hatches. This is really nice because these can open up in pairs. That opens up. This opens up. I'm just going to open up another set. You can see there's plenty of space down here. Even though, it's a built-up thing, it's still pretty hollow, and you could fill that up. So if you wanted to just put random bricks in there and consider it to be a bulk hauler, you can do that. And then in addition to that, you can put the containers, the containerized cargo system could be used up on top. So that's actually pretty nice. And all of these spaces can be opened. Out front, one light there, and the winch, which has this to represent an anchor. It's just a hook. So that's the thing. Didn't really look like an anchor, but you get it, right? You know what it's supposed to be, and this is intended to be the actuator for that. Here's all the containerized cargo, and my favorite piece is this right here, this very realistic, especially for its day and for LEGO. Engine, crate engine, V8 set up there. This looks like it was probably like a marine engine, diesel or something, I don't know. But I just think it looks awesome. Looks absolutely perfect. Of course, you could take it out of there, but I really like the look of it in the crate, and you could use that as a custom basis for some other build, try to integrate it into something else. This was really cool because it's a containerized tractor, but with just a minimal amount of after delivery assembly, you complete it. So you did have to put the seat on it and the steering wheel back here, put all that together. And that's exactly the type of thing that LEGO would have sold as a little $5 or so set back in the day with just a single figure, and they would have called the set Tractor, Here's some other random stuff. Those are just bricks in there just to represent who knows what, some miscellaneous stuff. And then these are kind of special, mostly by virtue of the stickers that get placed on there. It makes them look extra realistic, especially a little declaration down there. come on, old pieces stay together. And you could open up the back, and these were hollow, so you could put stuff inside, which is even better. Not a tremendous amount of space, but good stuff. And you got two of those identical. To haul that cargo in and out, there was this tractor trailer rig, which is based on, just classic, truly classic original town stuff, Legoland town stuff with a 4-stud wide design and the same basic cab design that they used on so many vehicles. They would change out the front just a little bit, but I mean, this goes back, this goes back much older in its overall style than this set, but had the second generation of wheels and tires that we even use to this very day, making it look a little bit more rough and tumble, just bigger than the original stuff. This is in great condition here. You have the little stand that could come down, and when you bring that down, it's going to lift the entire thing up, which is a little bit awkward, just how much it angles back, but the idea is that you would be able to actually get this to drive out, so that's why they wanted to have enough space for that. This is interesting here with the ball joint, with the Technic axle ball piece. That's how they connected, so this actually uses some Technic plates, and that just falls right in there. It works. The suggestion of the fifth wheel or saddle there is just providing a little bit of extra stability to this, doing a little bit of load bearing, but isn't involved in pulling this or actually creating the connection. But these are set up exactly as the tops of the hatches on the truck, on the ship. So any of this palletized or containerized cargo could just fit in, and you could just interchange them. On the packaging, they like to show it in the full container setup, which I think you have to go this way. Yeah, there we go. That's kind of a good look just by itself. And again, with the cab, classic style, got the sunroof on top, kind of luxury, allows some extra light in. It also, of course, gives the room for clearance for the head in there. And it just had a steering wheel. That's it. You could open up these doors. My favorite thing on this is how they did the fuel tanks. So simple, but back in the day, I don't know, just felt special. Like, hey, realism, check it out. The forklift, in spite of being a completely different type of vehicle, uses, again, basically the exact same design for its cab. It's just switching out to the trans light blue instead of trans clear. And there's an extra plate of height here to have these modified 1x1s to hold on to the side lights. Otherwise, you got stickers right there. Open that up. You got a sunroof on a forklift, which is actually kind of useful in this case to think of the person looking up, at a load that's being picked up high or dropped off high or something. These were prints here, and that's also a print right there. A little interesting, different design to get a different shape off the rear corner. And this could angle back, which is good. It would actually work for play. Now, unfortunately, the one that I got off of Bricklink, which was, as usual, listed as 100% verified, every single piece is correct, was not 100% complete. Did not come with the spring there, which was absolutely crucial, but I just substituted one in from my own collection for the sake of this video. So this actually works quite well. That's why I kept the truck here, so I could bring this over, line that up, line it up. Yep, get right in there. There we go. Pick it up. See, it just picks it up on its own. There's enough strength in that spring, and then just lean this back for security, and then you just take it off and you drive it around. And it feels like it's doing a thing on its own. The only thing that's bad about this is you would always carry the load up high, which in real life is a terrible thing. That's a good way to get tipped over. But, it's compromise. You either have something that will pick up the load and hold it on its own, or you didn't. So I think they went with the right thing here. The funny thing about this is similar to ones that they've made more recently. This could throw the cargo around because it has so much force, so much strength in it, which is, I don't know, it was probably a fun thing to do even. Bringing together everything that you could play with in this set and providing a proper environment for it all is the dock and pier, which also has to include the crane because it's on track, so it's able to nicely, smoothly ride back and forth. And I'll show you the operations of this, which are fairly remote and fairly fun, but I did want to show this without a whole bunch of stuff on it, so you just get an idea of how much stuff was here. Each of these sections of elevated road are 16 by 16. You get 1, 2, 3, for 5 of the complete ones, a little bit of extension there, and then one that's a ramp down at that end. Here's a look at it from a different angle, which I think helps you to see a little bit better just how much road is here, how much space you have to do some transfer work around here, and then also to drive all the way down the pier. It's some distance that matters. The ramp here provides a transition in the real world between ground level or floor level or desk or table level and this entire small world and all the activities that would occur here. This is a security office and somebody could sit inside of there. I'll show you that from the other side again to show its details. But key things here, you've got the lights for go, no go, and you have the gate to control access. So that's actually very good. A person would have to drive up with the truck and, get cleared or whatever, and then this would open up, presumably, and then they could drive on in and start doing some loading and unloading. This was fancy. The gate has its own access control keypad. And then inside the office is a chair that could rotate around and a 2x2 printed gray slope, which is not shared with any of the other builds in the set. The pier itself had a bunch of small details. I'm actually missing a couple of those number stickers. There should be 1, 2, and 3. But you can see, bumper wear plates that are sticking off on the sides. You've got access down to the water, little stoppers and things to just add detail for the sake of detail, so it's not too plain. Very much appreciated. You also have something to stop trucks from going all the way off the end there, and even something for a suggestion of communications. The big deal is the crane, of course, which has a cab that once again has the same pieces used with a sunroof and everything, just a larger inverted style of tall windscreen there. And I already showed you this can go back and forth. It is counterweighted. This big brick back here is one of those train counterweights, just recolored into red, so that's full of steel inside. And from this side, you can see both of the controls. So this one is actually mirrored, and that's used to operate the linear rack, which is a piece that was used in a number of different themes. Here it's moving the trolley back and forth, and then this is the winch to raise and lower the thing. It's a specialized grabber assembly out there that was used for cranes, and it's just the right width to work with the 4-stud wide cargo bits. The idea being that you could actually handle cargo without ever touching it with your human huge fig hands. So you would just operate the crane and never actually go down there and make direct manipulations of the containers. However, these are older pieces, and I found this out just playing around with the thing before I started doing the video. They get stuck just a little bit there, so I did have to just touch that. But in original form, those would just fall. They would just open up, the jaws would just open up on their own. And then this is going to work. There we go. Just grabbed on its own, so I did not need to do anything there. And then you can just slide this back in. I think I'm actually a little bit low on string with this one. It's been cut multiple times in the past, but you line it up, and obviously I'm being a little bit impatient here, because I'm under the gun. I'm on camera, but you'd be able to line it up just right. Use a little bit of patience without the swinging. It would get just into the right spot, and then it would let go and you'd drive the truck off. Yeah, to let go, you actually did have to put your fingers on it. So that's one thing that broke the illusion slightly. But there we go. All right, and I probably should have backed him in instead. Finally, here's the pilot boat, which announced its purpose very, very clearly in advance. Had a bunch of little lights and small details to suggest, outward communication and letting you know where it is and everything. And it had an exposed control cabin section with the steering wheel there, a lever for your throttle, a couple of clips to hold on to some minifig accessories, which were appropriate for the job of whoever's on this boat. I believe these are supposed to be exhausts back here, and you could open this up. So this one did allow you to get access to the interior as well. You could carry a little bit of cargo in there. Not really a person though, because it's only a 2-stud wide space. So at best, you could put somebody in sideways, and right there, nowhere near enough space for them to stand. Sitting also was not recommended. Looking at these first 3 figures, somebody has some explaining to do, because the middle guy not only has his head up higher because he's got the life jacket on, and by the way, underneath there is the same print as this one. So this can be like the ship captain, it's gonna be the pilot boat captain. But look at his cap. His cap doesn't fit down on his head as well. Also, you can clearly see that his face has a different print. Now, this is common to have different versions of the many different versions of smiley faces that Lego has done. As you look at old used sets, people don't always keep exactly the period correct ones together, and that's perfectly understandable. But I personally have not encountered this before with the hat fitting differently. So I'll need to research that a little bit more. The issue is the hat, not the head. It seems to be an older mold. It's a little bit wider, and it feels older, more used, more worn. It's interesting. With these three, there's again a difference with the one in the middle. It's a different generation of head, a little bit more squared off in its design, and also with a much thicker print. Meanwhile, the guy on the right has I believe the newest of the prints for the torso, but they were all intended to be originally the same design, just different colors. And yes, the guy on the left is supposed to have a cap rather than a hard hat. Here's the last dude, and I believe that face is actually period correct, if I'm not mistaken. I'll need to take the life jacket off so that you can see the print on this one, which is unique in the set. Pretty cool. I'm assuming he would be a crewmate on the big ship. I'm sorry I don't have an original box or even an original instruction manual to show you here in person, but you can look at those online. I just downloaded an instruction manual or just looked at one on a website to put this together. But fortunately, it is in pretty good shape and rather complete, except for that one spring that was missing. That was really bad. A couple small pieces. But from what I can see, this originally sold for about $90 US in 1991. Now, adjust for inflation alone, nothing else, that brings it to between $170 and $175 US today, which, interestingly and unusually, feels about right to me. Feels like roughly what they would charge for a set like this today. Comparing it to like the city sets, that the 2021 city sets with the road plates, like especially the town center one, comparing it to that Monkey Kid Secret Headquarters set, which was a giant container ship that opened up. You could play inside of it, and then there were individual small builds that would detach from that or could be used independently, and a bunch of figures as well. Like the volume of stuff here, adjusted for inflation, feels similar to modern stuff, which is, it's unusual. Usually there's a big gap between the two. Oftentimes, the older stuff being much more expensive than the newer stuff, adjusted for inflation for the amount of stuff that you got. But this is great, though. Gosh, so much can be done with it from the perspective of play. It's just so complete. I think that it didn't really need this. This is like just a bonus extra thing, and it's extra in that they could have done a pilot boat as just a 4-wide thing. It could have been really small. Maybe a little bit excessive there, especially when you consider that with that excess space, you could not really haul any proper cargo. If they made that as a tugboat, if it was that size and it was a tugboat, it would feel a little bit better to me, as long as I could hook it up to the main ship. Or if they made it into just a small cargo ship that could hold one of these containers, or maybe even less than that, just some small things like just the random stuff from inside of here loose, then it would have made sense, I think, to have it that size. But otherwise, all this play space is really good. The crane is pretty perfect. The forklift is very good. This is really nice, having the access control to the space out here and having room to put additional boats. I mean, technically, okay, this should dock over here, but it didn't have to. That could be brought in and just be lashed to the side here, and then you could bring something else in and, expand from here. So much nice stuff. So many things that you could do, so much actual cargo and stuff that you could do beyond just what's included here, with all that extra space inside the ship as well for bulk cargo or other small things. Could have used more space inside of the superstructure here. I'll definitely say that. If this was made today, you would be able to put more people in there. Of course, it would be larger. It'd be taller to accommodate that. Maybe it would be built on a unitary hull as well, in which case it would actually float. But then you wouldn't be able to stack up the cargo as high, because as you stack things up, center of gravity gets too high and then it's going to tip over. So compromises, But just, this is it. This is Lego. This is what Lego is all about. This is excellent, perfect, classic Lego. It's not 80s classic. It's early 90s classic, when things were just starting to change a little bit, but not for the worse. definitely not for the worse yet. They still had quite some years to go of doing the good stuff, in my personal opinion, from my personal perspective of when I grew up and what I consider to be maybe the original golden age of Lego. Big thanks once again to Unavailable Spaceship for giving up that, or donating that, right to pick a set here. And big thanks to Cranky Bricks for sharing some childhood nostalgia in picking this set for me to personally check out, something that I probably would have never splurged upon on my own, just because it's just such a nice thing, and I wouldn't want to ever use these pieces. Like, I wouldn't want to disrespect this set by taking its parts and using them for my own custom things. But yeah, this was a great experience for me. I hope that it was a good one for you as well. Hope you enjoyed this, and I'm going to keep working on more reviews, so I'll talk to you again soon. Thanks for watching.